Hi, thanks so much for tuning in to Mom Boss Chronicles. My name is Jen.
This is Sue. And this is Danielle.
We are three moms that work together in real estate and are good friends, and here to talk to you about fun topics, the good, the bad, the ugly, of mom struggles, real estate, and other fun stuff. So make sure to subscribe to listen to more.
Welcome everybody back to Mom Boss Chronicles. In honor of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which is the month of October, I have invited my friend here, Joanne Musarra-Pipitone, to be on with us to share some stories. Today actually is the anniversary. Yes. Joanne's sister tragically was killed by her ex-boyfriend in 2015 on October 5th. And as a result of that happening, the tragedy, beauty has come out of it, and which is called Dina's Hope. So I'm hoping you will share with us, some details of what happened that day and maybe some things that led up to it. And then we'll ask you some questions too about Dina's Hope.
Absolutely. I'm happy to talk about it. So 8 years ago today, my sister, Dina, was tragically murdered by her ex-boyfriend, which we actually had no idea that she was actually being abused.
Wow. So when that happened, was it a total surprise?
Total shock.
My goodness.
The cops actually came to my other sister at the high school in town looking for her to let her know because she was murdered on 516 in Old Bridge. Oh. In broad daylight.
Wow. And I'm from Old Bridge.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and so what happened was this man that she was dating for a few years, she was done with him. He was mentally and psychologically abusing her, which is the worst kind that people never realize is domestic violence.
Because you don't see the bruise.
You don't see it. Yeah. People tend to say that's not abuse, that's not domestic violence, but it is. So, and that's one thing that we really didn't know anything about domestic violence. I grew up old school with my parents. Everything's brushed under the rug. Going through my training with domestic violence as an advocate, the power and control wheel, as I'm reading it and looking at it, I'm like, oh my God, I had all of these types of boyfriends.
Right.
Like, wait a minute, I was abused.
Yeah. Because it's always, don't put your hand on a woman, right? So as a woman, it's like, well, he didn't put his hands on me.
He just belittled me.
Yeah.
He just, made me feel like, I was a piece of shit. Yeah. And made me, degraded me and whatever. Not realizing that all of this is a mental abuse. All of this pretty much is domestic violence.
Yeah.
So again, we had no idea. My sister never said anything. She has 4 children, but this man was none of their fathers. Thank the Lord.
And how long were they together for?
Her and this man were together for, I want to say 2 years, maybe.
And did you ever get a weird feeling from him?
We did not like him.
Yeah.
So you got a feeling?
We did. And my oldest niece did not like him.
Wow.
She hated him. But my sister was a fixer. Just like me, we're fixers.
Yeah.
We see the good. We see the good in people, and we want to just try to fix them. And then she came to the point where she was like, "I'm done. I can't do this anymore." She had years worth of threatening text messages. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill the kids. I'm going to kill your mom.
And did she share this with you?
She finally went to the police and shared it with the police, and they said there was nothing they can do until it got physical.
Wow.
Which
That's
back then,
awful.
Yeah. So back then, 8 years ago, not a lot was being done.
Yeah.
Again,
their hands were tied, they said.
Yeah, it's like you can't really do anything besides get a restraining order.
So he never put his hands on her
We don't know.
You don't know, right?
I'll never know.
Right.
I'll never know. My sister was she hid a lot, and she had her own battles too to deal with. But
she was private.
She was very private, but she would protect any one of her family members. She would always be good with don't mess with that person. She would always protect us, but never once tell us what was going on with her.
Did the kids know this was going on?
The kids didn't know. I think my oldest niece, might have had an idea, but because she didn't like this guy.
So it didn't happen in front of them.
No.
That's interesting.
No,
right?
because they don't really. Her older kids were older. They were moved out of the house.
Got it.
Her younger kids stayed with more of her with their father than my sister.
Okay.
And she really didn't. If they were around him, I don't think he might have acted differently. That kind of narcissistic,
right.
where they
Behind
act like
closed doors, yeah.
right.
Charming.
So when she finally got the restraining order and he was served, is when he went crazy.
Wow.
So
that set him off.
So that set him off. So that's again where my training came in after all this happened, is when I realized that she didn't know that, one, there was resources out there. She had no idea that technically once you get the restraining order, when you put the restraining order out, you should kind of not go and hide,
But protect yourself.
but be able to protect yourself and know that that might make him go nuts.
Right.
And he's going to go
Retaliation of some
exactly.
sort, yeah.
And this is what this guy pretty much did. He went on a drug binge or whatever, went crazy.
And he found her.
Found her. She was at her friend's house in Old Bridge, fixing up their house, the guy's house, and he went and her friend came out first, and he kind of fish gutted him, but he survived.
Wow.
And my sister, when she came out, she kind of came out barrel, like pushing through, like she was gonna knock him over.
Yeah.
But he caught her in her hands, and then he caught her in her jugular, and she dropped. And the people on 516 that were driving saw it and called the cops on him. And then he drove to his trailer park in Rahway.
And did he?
There was a standoff.
Wow.
And I guess he came out with a gun or a knife or something, and they killed him, which thank the Lord.
Wow.
Because, and my mom was like, oh, I wish he would have been, I wish he went to jail. I'm like, with jail reform,
I know.
he'll be out in a
Yeah.
year, 2
To
years.
get somebody.
Which is disgusting.
Exactly.
Right.
And then he's coming again after you, after my grandmother, after
Yeah.
the kids.
Right.
Right. It would never end.
Right.
Never end.
That must have been a really hard day, and I'm so sorry you had to go through
It was
Yeah.
a day that I realized the media sucks because the media took
that.
her story, and instead of making it as an awareness of domestic violence, it became, this is what drugs do, this is what white trash does, this is what happens when you cheat on your husband. They took pictures and made a fabricated story, and
That must have broken your heart.
it was
yeah.
shocking. First of all, it was out of a CSI thing.
Yeah.
You get a phone call, the detectives are here, your sister is murdered. I was like, wait, what?
I know. I can't imagine
You're
the
like, you're
process.
the
of
wrong
it.
person.
I was
Yeah.
I always thought if I was going to lose my sister, she was going to do a drug overdose. Cause you have these things.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lose
That
her.
was never a call you expected.
Never.
I know. Oh.
And I was just like, so when the media opened up, so the next day, that night, the next day, the media obviously picks everything up, and my mom was away. So that day that it happened, my mom was going over, going to Massachusetts or something, and the media's already blowing up everything, and now everybody knows her last name is Musarra-Pipitone. So my last name is Musarra-Pipitone. Everybody's putting two and two together. They're calling my nieces and nephews, oh, your dad killed your mom. No.
So the story just got.
So it was so fabricated that they were people posting, and these people on social media, first of all, you cannot, if somebody's passed, if somebody is dead, died, murdered, whatever the case may be, have compassion for people's families.
Yes. I mean, that should be 101. Yeah.
Because these people were so horrible.
Wow.
That my mother was trying to type and defend, and I'm like, why are you defending about people who don't have any lives?
I know.
Right.
Yeah.
Who know nothing
Who
about
have
this.
no idea about who your
Yeah.
daughter was.
Yes.
We had a closed funeral kind of because my mom was so afraid the media was going to come out, and just, I was
I can't imagine grieving and then having to go through that.
and that was when I was you know what?
That really hurts.
I think my sister, I mean, I have I'm loud, I'm always loud, but I'm I think my sister was just after that happened, I'm somebody has to stand up for these people.
Yeah.
Somebody has to be able
Did
to
that
say.
give you the?
That kind of, so the first year we did a walk for her, and now I'm just I need to do something more. Something has to be more, done more. And then COVID hit, obviously, so everything kind of just stopped. But when COVID kind of opening back up, I'm I need to do more. There's
You felt that calling.
I did. I said, I can't let my sister's name not keep being told. I can't let her story be brushed under the rug and just a memory.
Because I'm sure as time went on, would you hear other stories about?
I would hear people talk about more. I would do some more walks, and people would be thank you for sharing your story. This happened to my sister or my family or my friend, or I'm going through this. And I'm just how many of us have we dated somebody? Like I said, going through my advocate training because I'm a part of the Sayreville domestic violence team, and going through my training and having that power and control wheel, and seeing all what they do, and I'm
and the stages, I'm sure of it, right? Because first it starts out with love bombing. I've heard that.
Yes, you got love bombing and everything, and then
with me,
and then it's they change, and then all of a sudden they feel sorry, they're apologetic, and then they're back to love bombing again, and it's the cycle continues.
And that's kind of addictive too, right? Because you're getting that fix as a person, the dopamine, oh, they love me so much, and then withdrawals, but they're leaving and they don't love me, and then you're kind of fixated
and then
on that.
And then you have that, if you have traumatic, something that happens to you traumatically, or if you have so low self-esteem, so you have somebody who's giving you that, so now you're attached to that, and then all of a sudden it's
know how to pick that out too.
Exactly. They know they hone out on those people, and it was just I had to do something more.
Yeah.
And I had to be more of a voice and more just get awareness out. Stop pushing it under the rug.
Right.
Yeah.
Too many, and it's not just women too. Men are getting abused too. And men aren't really coming forward.
I could imagine. I know.
Yeah.
It's like a shame. You can't say nothing. You know, I have this like masculine energy. I can't say nothing. But yeah, you can because it's not right that if this girl is like being emotionally abused to you or physically abused, it's not fair.
Yeah.
You know, but that's when I started Dina's Hope in 2020. And the end of COVID.
That's awesome.
To start to bring in awareness. We do a lot of walks, donations for women's shelters. And
Was the
everything else.
reception pretty helpful once you started it? Did a lot of like friends, family?
A lot of friends really wanted to come help and everything, which was great, and it was just like my thing was I just wanted people to still know what's going on.
Yeah.
Right.
Wanted to hear her story and maybe somebody I could help.
One person. Yeah.
One person heard her story. That family would not have to go through what we went through. And that was my biggest thing. Like I didn't want a mom. Like I had to call my mom when she was on a bus tour with her girlfriends in Massachusetts. Be like, hey,
That must have been the
where
worst.
are you? Don't put on Facebook. Don't get on News Channel 12.
And come home now.
But we have to come get you because your daughter was murdered. Like that's how. And like they tell me, my brother and sister were like, you have to call mom. I'm like me.
Yeah, why me?
What the baby of the family?
But somebody had to do it.
But I was like, and it was just like, it was just crazy because it was like the way everything happened. It was so surreal, and like I tell my kids to this day, my kids will be 17 and my daughter's 12, and it's like they know fully what happened.
And that's an impressionable age. That's scary, right? Because they're so impressionable. They're teenagers.
Yeah, and they know, and I am huge. I drill it in. And when they were little, we kind of just didn't really talk about it because, again, there was 8 years ago, and they were little. But now I'm like,
You want to tell.
I tell them. Yeah. We tell about the story. We talk about what I do. When I get a call in from the police station, why I have to run out. I tell my son all the time, like, what you see or what you hear, like that's not healthy. Like this is a healthy relationship. I tell my daughter, like that love bombing is not how. Listen, if a man is telling you that he loves you and then 1 minute yelling at you, screaming in your face, that's not healthy. Like I'm trying to teach them like what is good relationships.
Right.
What is
Red flags too.
Flags.
Yep. Like what is
Yes.
a quality you're willing to accept from a man or a partner?
Exactly.
Even if it's, What qualities are
And also how to
acceptable?
treat other people that
Yes.
you're in a relationship with.
Right.
True. Right.
And I feel like domestic violence too is a learned behavior. So it's like,
I'm sure.
what you see at home, sometimes it's like you don't know any better. You don't know when mom and dad are screaming, oh, that's the love language.
Right.
I know.
So I go home and I scream at my girlfriend or whatever.
Because
but
I
that's
grew
like-
up that way, and that's my parents loved each other. So yes, I know.
And that's the thing. It's like, even that isn't healthy, you know? And it's,
And I wish
So-
people would talk about that more because in high school nobody ever talked about
well,
that.
that's the thing. I would love, I'm trying to get into schools. Like, I know Sayreville Domestic Violence Team is trying to
that
get into
idea.
schools.
How long have they had that domestic violence team?
They've been around for I want to say about 25 years.
Wow.
And nobody
okay.
knows about it. That's the
Yeah.
problem
What is
too.
it?
It's so a lot of the police departments are supposed to have at least one domestic violence liaison and a team of domestic violence.
And throughout New
responders.
Jersey, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't know
And
that.
if they don't have it in their police department, Women's Aware is basically out of Middlesex County. They should be able to have like an advocate on call 24/7.
So if the police gets a domestic dispute call, then they're supposed to give them the resources?
So they're supposed to say, do you want to speak to an advocate that they have them available? We're always on call pretty much 24 hours a day. We're on call.
Wow.
There's like a bunch of us.
Because if there is a dispute that they get, they'll reach out to you?
So if a victim comes into like the police station and they want to do like a TRO, which is like a temporary restraining order, they can speak to an advocate and just kind of know they can talk, they can vent. We're there to listen.
Yeah.
There's no judgment. Again, we're there, a free zone. You can say whatever you want. It stays confidential in our office. We'll let you know what resources are out there. If you need shelter in place, we'll try to get you shelter in place.
Wow, that's amazing.
Get you as much protection as possible. We'll get to the restraining order, is a temporary one, but then the New Jersey is one of the fewer states that has a final restraining order that is like lifetime. Like once you have a final restraining order, you don't have to like reapply to get it taken care of. But then again, it's a piece of paper.
Right.
Yeah. So when someone does come in for a temporary restraining order and they do want to they need the shelter. They're I would assume at this point there's enough education, right? You're sharing with them like your sister's story. She put the restraining order and it triggered this idiot, this piece of shit. That could happen to anybody else. Are there enough places for people to go to I didn't think so.
Yeah.
That's hard too, right? Finding
So
that.
it's hard because sometimes, especially if you're in Middlesex County, so like say you're in Sayreville and you need a shelter, you need to get a shelter, and Women's Aware is in New Brunswick, and if they don't have, they only have really like I think like maybe 23 beds.
When they're full, they're full.
So if they're full, you know, it's their Women's Aware is responsible to try to get them to find another shelter, but sometimes they're not in like Middlesex County.
They're far.
So then you have to go far, and if you have kids, then you're taking the kids, and then you got to make sure your kids get back to school the next day.
I know all of it.
So it's frustrating, and a lot of times the victims don't want to go because
Because
Where they're
it's
gonna
jumping through hoops.
Exactly.
Too, you know?
Yeah, it's like where are they going to sleep?
and you
at?
can't, and it's if you tell them we'll put you up in a hotel, well then you have to worry about safety issues because if
Right.
your abuser now has
Knows who you
access
are.
to your phone and they can track you, or the kids, you know, have like their iPads and he can track the
Right.
kids, or you know, there's so many
so
ways where you're
much,
not.
wow.
They're technically not always safe if they're not in a shelter.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, but I always say that before I die, that's my goal is to have a women's shelter. And that's my ultimate goal. There's so many warehouses that are empty,
Yeah.
especially in Sayreville, but
Yeah.
like there's so many that one day, one day
that.
I'll have a shelter.
I will work with you. I'm throwing my hat in the ring for that because I will.
feel like
yeah.
I mean, we have more. I love animals. Don't get me wrong, but we have more animal shelters than we have like shelters for domestic
Yeah,
violence
isn't that
and
crazy?
like women's shelters, even men for men too. Like it's
yeah,
not just like
crisis. Yeah.
We have more animal shelters than we do for
Yeah.
people in crisis,
And
which
I-
is crazy.
And I feel like a lot of times those domestic violence situations, they stay because they feel like,
Right.
where
Where will I
go?
go? What
Exactly.
options do I
and
have?
that's the problem.
Right.
You know, and sometimes like when you have people who are in a domestic violence like situation and they do talk to people and they tell like, you know, their story, like, you know, whatever. And like you have like people like us, like, oh, why don't you just leave? Just leave. It's not that
Yeah.
easy.
Especially if you have children, especially if you don't have any money.
And so that's
you
the
know?
thing too. Like a
Right.
lot, like
Resources.
like financial abuse is domestic
Yep.
violence abuse. So if you don't have your own finances, and your abuser is controlling that,
Right.
that's abuse right there.
They're
so
holding
you
it over
have,
you. Yes.
They hold it over your head. So you know,
Power, yeah.
it takes a victim of between 7 to 8 times before they really fully
Wow.
realize. But you know, God's willing that they are okay once they actually leave.
Yeah, so some of them know this is a bad situation, and
Right.
they,
Right.
but they,
Right.
that's hard.
Is
It's
there
crazy.
is there a time limit on how long someone can stay in the shelter?
It depends. Some shelters are available, like they let you stay for like a few weeks. Some let you stay a few months. It depends on the shelter and I guess the rotation of,
Right.
you know, how many beds they can go and whatever.
Are there resources at the shelter to try to help women get jobs?
There
and stuff
usually
like
is.
that?
I know there's a few places like Hazlitt has. I think it's like what is it? What is it? 180 Turning Lives Around. That's in Hazlitt. That has like resources. They're like they have also. It's like another shelter type, but they have resources. Dottie's house in, is it Red Bank, or
That sounds familiar to me.
Dottie's house is down the shore somewhere. I'm not sure if it's Red Bank. Don't quote me on that. But they're like apartments almost in like a,
Wow.
and they have resources and everything
Yeah.
in there too.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they had that to help them, you know, kind of get on their feet financially, and then like a therapist.
Believe me, my whole vision for mine is
Oh,
like
yeah.
it's like everything.
Because
you know,
once
like,
you do leave a relationship, you know, from violence or even the mental, you need therapy to deprogram to like.
and sometimes these families, these like especially moms with kids, they're
Mm.
coming with nothing. You know, and it's frustrating with after COVID because COVID I feel like screwed everything. But
Right.
like a lot of shelters want everything new. And a lot of times when you think about it, when you're taking out your closet, half of the time you have tags on your clothes. And half the time you wear one thing. I know my kids wear one outfit and that's it.
Yes.
I wore it already. I can't wear it. It's done. God forbid I should wear it another
Yeah.
time and somebody sees me in it.
Yeah, because I was photographed in
Yeah,
that. Yes, I know.
exactly. But like, I can't even donate it because like to a shelter because it's not new.
That's crazy.
And I'm like,
I'm sorry. What?
Exactly.
I don't think that there's really room to be like that
Picky.
picky
Especially if
in
it's
that
good
regard.
quality.
Right.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's frustrating for me because I'm just like, I can do so, like, I really don't think these women and children, honestly, are really being that picky to know, like,
Right.
oh, I need something brand new off
Not
the
at
shelf.
all. Not at
Especially
all.
if they left with
Right.
nothing.
Right,
Yeah,
you
they're
know,
grateful
like,
for anything.
so if you ever watch the show Made on Netflix,
I've heard of it.
okay, I recommend anybody out there who hasn't seen it to watch it because that's a perfect example of what emotional and psychological abuse
Wow.
is definitely like.
Yeah.
And there's a moment where she walks into a shelter, and which is why my vision was like, oh my God, I need exactly how this is. There's a place that they go in, and it's almost like a clothing store, like almost like those like thrift store kind of styles. And it's all free, but there's a register, and the girl just makes them feel like they're normal.
Yes.
And it's off
They picked it
They
out.
picked it out. They find what they want.
Yeah.
They have kid clothes. They have everything. And I'm like, that's the part. Like, just to feel normal, like you go into a store, even though you know you have nothing on your, like you have no money or whatever, but to feel like I can shop for something.
Right.
Yes.
You know, and that's the like that was
That starts the rebuilding.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes they're so damaged, and they feel like they have no hope.
I can
But
imagine.
there is. And
I mean, I can imagine after years of being in that relationship how broken people are.
yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. They're broken. What I hate is the stigma of people who don't want to have an understanding, who are like, well, why am I going to help someone if they just keep going back, or if they're too scared to leave, or you know they're looking for the reasons to not want to help somebody because they're fucked up. Like they've been mentally and physically abused over a long period of time. Have some thought and empathy that these people they want to leave.
Yes.
Trust me, but like
not easy.
it's very scary, and it's not just that simple.
It's like being to the point where you have to look over your shoulder constantly.
Oh, I can't imagine.
couldn't even imagine.
make
And
sure,
then,
like-
and then if you have children, I mean, it's multiplied. You know.
And then you have to worry about now if you have children. You have to make sure that the school knows what's going on, you know, and having if you have a
and that's
restraining order.
embarrassing. Like you're exposing yourself. You
Yeah.
know.
So it's like your whole privacy now is pretty much out there, you know, and then it's like, of course, you have to look over your shoulder and make sure that the abuser doesn't go to the school to take your kids away from you, you know, or to steal, like to take your kids and then go off somewhere, you know, because like some people,
happens.
like, if they're not from this country, they'll take them back to their country, and then what? You know, or if you're not even from this country and you're afraid of being deported, which is one thing though too. If you are, you know, not from the country, you will not get deported if you go to the police station and file for a restraining order from your abuser. Like that's one thing that they will not deport you for. Like obviously you need protection.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of times foreigners will think like, oh my God, I can't go because I'm going to get deported.
Yeah, and my kids will too. And then
And I'm sure their abusers are telling them that too. Like, if you go to the police,
or
you're going.
or they'll hold their papers from them.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, I hold your papers.
Right.
You know, so there is resources, and people just don't know that. And people feel like, oh, if I go to the police, they're not going to do anything. You know, they can go to the police and ask to speak to an advocate. If they don't have advocates, you know, at their police station, they can call Women's Wear if they're in Middlesex County.
So they don't have to wait for a situation to arise, right? They wait.
don't.
Yes, good.
They
you could
do
seek
not.
out the
Yes.
Yes.
So
If
things
you
have
put it-
changed in the last 8 years.
They have.
Thank God.
And they actually had them. They had DV response members back when my sister was there. They just never really, a lot of the times they don't really, like, I guess, they're so busy. You know, a lot of times cops are like, they have so much going on.
They didn't take that extra step to
You
be
know,
like,
and again,
yeah.
domestic violence back then wasn't really, like, talked about.
Yeah.
Nobody really, it wasn't a big thing, you know. Once, like, Maid kind of came out with Netflix, it was like, oh, okay, things are starting to talk, you know.
Yeah.
Some of the athletes being exposed to it. Oh, things are happening, you know. Like,
Getting caught on camera. Yeah.
right. Like, the girl who just died in Colorado, the recent one.
Oh my gosh!
right.
Wait, didn't the police get called for her
Yes, and
laundry? Brian Laundry. was-
Yes, the one that was
Oh, you're Gabby
Petito.
Yeah.
Yes, you know, things like that.
Yeah, because she was on TikTok or something. She was like an influencer documenting her trip.
Yeah.
So a lot of young girls saw that, and then when
Yes.
that happened, it caught the media attention because, and it was even found out the police came out and.
And that too is like a good example of, you know, like almost like here's an abuser making the blame that she's crazy.
I know.
Oh, they always do.
They always do.
Yeah.
And it's like the narcissistic, you know, personality disorder.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, you're crazy.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
You're gonna, and then she's like
Gaslighting.
because
Oh,
you're gaslighting,
And
you're
you
like,
start believing it.
and then you're now she's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, maybe it was, and whatever, and it's all documented, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, nobody's seeing the flags,
right.
nobody's
Are
getting
there
it.
red flags that you like? I guess we should look out for, like.
So when you see, if you have friends,
Mm-hmm.
family members, anybody, when you start to see changing in there, if they're like one of those people that are always outgoing
Mm-hmm.
and always like, you know, life of the party, and now they're dating somebody, and now they're all of a sudden like distant.
Mm-hmm.
They're not so much with their family anymore.
Not going out, yeah.
Not going out as much, or constantly with the guy or
Mm-hmm.
girl, you know, very much closed in and not themselves. Check on
Withdrawing,
that.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
check on that.
Yeah, like in a negative way, not just
Yeah.
like I'm obsessed with my new boyfriend.
Yeah, no, like definitely check on them, you know, and if you start to see like changes in like their appearance almost, like if like normally like if say for example, they're always like arms are out, exposed or whatever. And now all of a sudden
hiding things.
Like they're always like long sleeves. They're always like, wrapped around their neck.
Because they don't want to look too,
Or
Like
they're hiding
bruises.
bruises.
Yeah.
They're hiding bruises, something that they can't see. Because sometimes, though, abusers will hide, hit where they won't be able to see, Some just don't care, and, they'll leave you until, because they'll know you probably won't go out anyway, so you won't go out looking like that, so they won't care.
And it's wild what you said, too. Like, it's not always physical, though. It is, like, if you have friends who are being emotionally abused, like, it's got to be hard to like, separate from that, too.
And it is, because you get kind of, like, numb and shut off, and cut off, like, shut off from, like, the rest of the world. Because they're constantly, like you said, being gaslighted, being triggered, like, oh, I'm the one that made it wrong. Maybe I shouldn't have said that to him.
Right.
I triggered something in him. I made him angry.
Right.
It's my
Me.
fault.
It's my fault.
It's me. No, it's
a low self-esteem.
Yeah. And then it's like so that's the thing too, like when you start to see their self-esteem start to go, and it's just like, no, that's another red flag. But again, don't be that friend that says, well, you need to leave.
Yeah.
Like,
What's a good approach?
So just start to talk, have conversation. Like, so what's going on? Like try to see if they will pull things out without pulling things out. And let them know, hey, at the end of the day, whatever's going on, I get it. I'm here. When you're ready to tell me, there is no judgment. I get everybody is different. I'm never going to judge you for being in whatever relationship you're in. But when you are ready to tell me, I'm here, and whenever you're ready to leave, or if you need help, I got you. But I'm here. If you're not ready to talk, it's okay.
Yeah.
But I'm here. Just let them know that they have somebody.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they don't want to tell you because of fear of judgment.
Right.
And I think that's what my sister was mostly about, why she didn't tell us.
Fear of judgment, and then when you admit it, it's real.
Yeah.
It's real,
Yeah. And then it's like almost like, so the year before she died, my father passed. So it was like my dad was like her savior in a sense. Like she was, my dad always kind of protected my sister. And my brother and my sister, like had their own thing. I was Switzerland. So my older sister was like my other mom. So me and her had that very different relationship than my other siblings did. So I never judged. I never did whatever. But I felt that my sister probably wouldn't have said anything because of the fear of everybody else's judgment. You picked these people because these are the people you hang out with. Right. These are the friends you have, And I think that if we don't judge people that way and let them know, like, hey, it's, we don't have to like them, but we'll like them because you like them. Yes. Like we'll stand behind you because of who we love you.
Yes. Like to show that support. Yeah.
Right. And I think when they see that and they know that, it's almost like a weight has lifted off. And when they are ready, it's a little bit easier for them to transition.
Yeah.
And they don't have that fear of, oh, I can't say nothing. I got to stay.
I guess when they're ready, they will open up to you, hopefully. Like that's the hope, that when they're ready to talk, they'll start talking. And Dina's hope, so you guys are that advocate, right? That place where people can go and say or the resource of what. So
so what Dina's hope does, besides working with the Sayreville Police Department, Dina's hope also it does like we could do the outreach programs. We go out to different communities. We'll do walks. We'll speak at different events. To collect donations for other organizations. For women, for children, stuff like that. Just to, again, keep bringing out, the awareness of domestic violence and keeping the conversation going.
Yeah.
Letting girls know, letting boys know, like, still, like, this is, even though it's, you don't think it's domestic violence, teen violence starts.
Yeah.
It's intermittent and dating violence starts as teen dating violence. And it escalates.
The emotions of the teenager are just wild. So,
and it's like you have these hormones mixed into what
intense feelings.
And now with social media, it's like you don't even know.
Yeah.
It's like,
oh God. Yeah.
I deal with a 16-year-old, and I love his girlfriend. I love their relationship, and I love that my son is. Thank God. I mean, in such a tragedy, like it has helped in the fact that my children understand things. Don't get me wrong; it's still a scary time.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I don't fear for my son; it's more I fear for my daughter.
Oh, yeah.
But I tell my son all the time, you see a friend who's being an asshole, so you're a girl, or a girl being an asshole, you say something.
Yeah.
Because I'm not raising an asshole, first of all. And I'm not doing what I do for you just to walk away from something.
Yeah,
and God forbid something happens, you're gonna have that on your conscience, not me.
Basically, yeah, is educating too, to be advocates.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and it's like you see something, you say something.
Yes.
And even if you don't, like, just stepping in, you know, even if you don't want to cause a confrontation, or just stepping in and saying, "Oh, hey, by the way, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt the conversation."
Yeah.
But now you're breaking up that
Right.
argument. So maybe it broken up for maybe 10 minutes, and it'll start up when you leave. But at least it gave her a moment, or gave him a moment to like
Take a deep breath.
take a deep breath and be able to collect themselves, and maybe like walk away, or like reassess what they can say next, something to deflect.
Right.
You know, but it needs to keep being said. It needs to keep the conversation needs to keep going, you know?
Yeah, I definitely think this is a missed.
Me too,
topic,
especially I never
right?
heard about this in high school, and I wish even
Me neither.
people in high school talked about it, and then even college, maybe in colleges, like, or even places of work, because like it happens in all stages of life, and I don't think people realize that you should get help and where you can go for help.
Yeah, no, and I don't feel like, and I think that a lot of times nobody's talking about the resources that are out there.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, oh, well, you know, just walk away, but
Yeah,
you can't walk away
leave.
without knowing where to go or
Yeah.
what to do. You know, Middlesex, like I said, Middlesex County has Women's Aware.
We'll
which is
tag
amazing.
all of this stuff. I'll
Yeah.
probably have to ask you about
Yeah.
that. Tag all this stuff and
Women's
post,
Aware is
yeah.
in Middlesex County. Women's Space is up in Lawrenceville.
Which is awesome. So you collaborate with other organizations who are doing.
I try to do as much help as I can throughout New Jersey,
That's
at least, so
awesome.
that I can. So when people ask where is best place, like at least I have somewhere to
Connections, right.
somewhere I can like navigate to, like, oh, try here or go here. Again, I'm very small compared to like these bigger ones. Like there's a foundation for Steffi Pizzari.
Oh yes, I've come
The one
across
who
that.
passed. She was murdered
So-
in Obridge
Okay, yeah.
on Route 9.
Aw.
But I met. We just did a training with her dad for
Stephanie's
the
place, right? Yeah.
at for the police department, for the DV teams.
So, which is amazing. So then your guys are training the people who are going to be out on the call, like when you come across a situation.
So when you want to, like, if you want to volunteer to be a domestic violence advocate, we do, the Middlesex County Coalition does the training. So which it's like Woodbridge domestic violence team kind of controls the training. They conduct the training. It's about a 40-hour training that you take.
That's good.
And it's like a few weeks, but it's not that it's completely intense. It's just so much knowledge that you just don't think, like,
Probably, a bunch of things you
Yeah.
would never even think
never
of.
even thought about. Like,
You need to be
even, like,
sensitive to it.
and, like,
Small little things.
things
make a
that you
big
thought
difference.
like were just normal in your life, like the power and control, like all this stuff. It was like, oh my god, I lived this in high
It's
school.
eye-opening,
Like I
I
lived this
know.
through all my dating. Like,
And
oh my
people
God.
just, I think, let it go if it's not physical violence.
I had an argument. I don't want to really call it an argument, but like I had to put a mom in place one time at gymnastics because Maid came out and one of the moms was talking to me and she's like, "Oh my god, I love it and I thought of you, you know, with the domestic violence." And I'm like, that is such a great show to really showcase emotional and psychological abuse. And this mother turned around, she's like, but she didn't get hit. She didn't have physical. That's not domestic violence. I was like,
Oh, wow.
so I take a deep breath
Yeah.
now because I'm about to go buck wild. I was like, it doesn't have to. I was like, domestic violence isn't just physical.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter if there's no bruises. Like, it could be
There's internal
financial.
abuse is
It could
abuse.
be like,
Yes.
abuse is abuse is abuse no matter what it is.
Yeah.
I was like, educate yourself before you talk to somebody who knows
Lived
about
it,
it.
yeah.
And I was just like, I need to walk away.
Yeah.
Because that's, and again,
That is
that's
it.
the
There's a
stigma.
lot of ignorance surrounding
lot
this
of-
topic,
yes.
you know, and because I think lack of awareness, you know,
Empathy,
obviously people
lack-
have like
yeah.
their heads up their asses too,
It's-
you know.
It's that it doesn't happen in my life. I don't want
know.
nothing about. I don't want to know nothing about
Yeah.
anything
Well,
until
that-
it
and that-
happens.
we lack the help your fellow man, you
Yeah.
know, mentality in this country.
And that's why I think because of social media.
Yeah.
I think because social media has destroyed that whole like lack of communication and
Community.
Well, yeah, community exactly because it's all like this.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. you
Yeah.
know,
And then the keyboard junkies who are on
Yeah.
there, like for instance, when your sister passed
Yes.
away and people like, oh, well, this, blah, blah, blah.
And I swear that was the first when I tell you not that I'm a big fan of the news because I feel like everything is negative on the news, but when that happened and they took pictures off her Facebook and they fabricated the story, like this is what drugs does and
That's
this is
so
what happens
hurtful.
when you're in white trash.
Wow.
And these people are like, I can't believe her, she cheated on her husband and this guy killed, and I'm just like, that's not even her husband.
And that's not even the point of the story. The point of the story that somebody just died because
Right.
the man
Murdered.
was
Right, even if she
in broad
was
daylight.
a junkie who was
Do you realize
like
what just happened?
whatever,
Right.
it doesn't make it okay.
To a mother.
Right, and and it was like, oh my God, I was like, this is somebody's mom.
Right.
This is somebody's sister, somebody's daughter, and you were talking like as if she is just a piece of trash on the street.
So bad.
So hurtful.
I was like,
bad.
I pray that I pray that you guys never have to experience this ever in your life.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's something like my mother had to, like, I mean, she's an amazing woman, and the power that she had, like, to stay strong and not, like, crumble after just losing her husband a year before,
And then her daughter.
And now her daughter, tragically, it was just like, and again, having the family that we have, we're a very strong like a family, like we're like a wolf pack, we always say it. But like, if you don't have that, and then all of a sudden this happens, you're going to crumble yourself.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like, that's one thing I'm always like, if I can affect one more person, if I can get one more save, even if I don't save, but if I can just get through one more person, one more family doesn't go through.
Yeah.
One more mom might not be as strong as my mom.
Yeah.
And might not make it if her child is murdered the way my sister was,
Like
or
it
anybody
could be a
was.
ripple effect, right? Yeah.
And it's just like, that's
And it
my
affects
goal.
our community. I mean, that was in it. Our community, like that's just everybody gets affected. Those kids go to school and they're mourning, and everyone is hurting,
Right.
and like,
Yeah.
it's just.
And it's crazy because my nieces and nephew, again, because of the way our family is, and we made sure that they were always going to be okay, and they are very strong kids, thank God. But it's still, you lost your mom.
I know.
Yeah.
In such a tragic way.
And it's in the news.
It's
like,
in the news, and you're getting these text messages from your friends now, and like from other people, like, oh, your dad
I
killed
can't
your mom,
imagine.
and can you imagine? Like, I've had people message me on Facebook, like, is this your sister? I'm like, oh my God, can you please not? Because my mom doesn't know. Like, my mom is like, yes, it's my sister. Don't spread it. Don't post anything, please. Don't tag
That's
me
so crazy.
because, like,
Before everybody got to know.
exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, this is not
horrible.
This is not. But this is why, like, I talk about it. I bring her up all the time. Anytime I see people going through something, I always just be like, hey, like, there's resources. Like, this is what we do. We are doing a thing in October 17th in Woodbridge for it's a candlelight vigil for their Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and they have silent witnesses. Which, if you ever see a silent witness like a display, it's so powerful.
What's
so? These silent witnesses, they're red silhouettes, and each one has like a plaque on them, and it's somebody's story that has died through domestic violence. My sister has one.
Wow.
They've made one for my sister, and Woodbridge has a lot of them. And Woodbridge domestic violence team is like amazing. They are doing it, I think, by the high school, by the flagpole in Woodbridge. That's where they did it last year. I'll send you the flyer too. And this year, I'm reading my sister's plaque. Last year we didn't read the plaques. They were just had a very small ceremony, but they had like maybe 20 silhouettes in like a thing representing people that have passed.
Wow.
It was so powerful to see because I think people don't realize when you see power in numbers, and I always say when you see things in numbers, like then you get a different perspective.
You're like, wow, this is a problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I wish people saw more of. When you see it in numbers, and not just one person, not just two, but when you see multiples and you read their stories and you see, oh my God, like it wasn't just, like.
And it's all different walks of life, I'm sure.
Yes. There's people there was ones that they had children, they had like a handicap silhouette, they had male, they had female.
Wow.
So all sizes and all types, and all stories. It's powerful to see, and if everybody's welcome to come and see. It's on the 17th, which is Tuesday.
Wow.
So we're doing that. So I'm going to be reading my sister's silhouette for that.
Wow.
So I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
Is there a statistic that you might know about how many people have reported abuse or?
Well, I guess there's about an average.
I mean, it would be skewed, obviously, because I'm sure there's so many people who don't
report it. But like on an average, there's about every 20 minutes somebody is being physically.
Wow.
Yeah, physically abused.
Wow.
And it's on an average off of the National Coalition, Domestic Violence Coalition website. So about an average of 20 minutes. But it's like usually 1 in 4 women and like 1 in 9 men are usually like physically and emotionally abused.
And I guess would you say in terms of like dating, like and I would hate to generalize, but like, are narcissists the most likely to be the abuser? Like if you meet a partner, is there any red flags with people?
It's not. I don't know if it's always narcissist. I don't want to say if it's always narcissist. I feel like it's a range, like, because it's just like, again, it's a learned behavior too. Mm-hmm. So I feel like the ones that have grown up like that,
that
or have
some sort of trauma,
have some sort of trauma, and then find somebody that's weaker than them. Then now that they can overpower and control them, then it's like, okay, you can take it. But then you have the ones that you have to watch the ones that just snap.
Right.
And it's like that's where it gets scary.
True, right? Because they've always presented themselves in a certain way,
right?
And then something totally makes them snap,
right?
Yeah.
Or like they get fucked up on a substance, right?
Exactly.
Like, substance abuse.
Yeah.
And they go through a temporary psychosis.
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of times too, like and that's the thing too. Like, so some victims, they will see like the signs that are changing. You go from that honeymoon stage where everything is great. Perfect relationship. It's amazing. Everything is wonderful for that, say, 6 months to the year or whatever. And then it's like you get married or whatever, you have the children, whatever the case may be, you move in, and then all of a sudden things start to change. And the slow, like the
slow progression, right?
The slow progression,
you start accepting it a little bit.
Yep.
A little
the
bit.
little
it was just this one time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or just a bad month. He's having a bad month.
And then he'll turn around, he'll do something, and he'll turn around and, I'm so sorry, it'll never happen again. Here's something, and it's like, well, he gave me this, or he did this for me, and he loves me. This is his sign, and it's like, now, like, seeing it now, I'm like so much more wiser than I was 20 years ago.
Yes.
Or like, when you're in high school, and I'm like, I've dated men like that.
Yeah.
Not even thinking, like, I'm like, I don't even know, like, how.
I know, isn't that crazy? How many of us probably have been in a relationship where like, wow, that was really toxic.
Yes, definitely.
Right. And I'm just like, I'm sitting here like going through this training, and when we did this one class, I'm like, I feel like I need a drink right now. I was like, because I literally lived, like, half of the men in my life was like this. And then I'm like, I don't even realize that I was being, like, half the time abused.
And so I hope this changes, because I'm sure your parents didn't have that conversation, but you're having the conversation with your kids.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So us as moms need to have this conversation with our sons and our daughters.
Yep.
And let's hope that there's a conversation.
And I wish that, like, a lot of school systems, too, would put in, I mean,
that
the
would
funding,
be huge,
even if it's not funding, even if they could just have, like, some type of an assembly and have,
right,
I would listen. I'm all about
would,
going into school systems and talking and letting kids know, like, what red flags are, what the, signs are.
I think that is a very important
and be like,
thing
hey,
to have
like,
in
this
high
is
school.
This is a healthy relationship. This is not. Like, Jane should not be hitting Joe, and Joe should not be hitting Jane.
Yep.
It could happen both ways, and we need to talk about different scenarios.
Have conversations, have healthy boundaries.
Yep.
At 43 years old, I don't have boundaries. I'm learning now to have boundaries.
How important they are.
Like, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like, nobody ever told me in my life.
Well, that's the thing, and no one's ever told us. So you don't know what you don't know until something happens that you're like, oh shit.
And it was too
late. But I think, to your point, like, getting in at an early age, like high school, and a very impressionable time.
I think 7th grade. I actually think 6th grade.
Yeah.
Well, see, I know for Sayreville middle school starts at 6th grade.
Yeah.
But I still think 6th grade up to high school because it's like, that's when, I mean, I don't know about you guys. My kid's 12. She's 7th grade. She already boyfriend on social media. Like, already tell me what actor
things are different than when we were in school.
Yeah, she's like, oh, he's hot, Mom. Look at this guy. And I'm like, oh my God.
I know, very crazy.
I'm like, where's the convent? Where's the convent? Oh, love you.
I'm going to homeschool you and lock you in this room. Yeah.
So I feel like at 6th grade, and then again, when you're in that, even if you're young, be like, hey, like, you don't have, you can lower it down enough that these kids are not scared.
Yeah.
But it's understandable, like, hey, my mom is going through this.
Yeah.
Mom, Mommy, there was an assembly.
Yep.
They talked about this.
Yeah.
Maybe you can, Daddy does this. Maybe we can, and having a kid come up to you, I mean, it's sometimes we don't like giving out pamphlets to victims because if an abuser sees it.
True.
Yeah.
It's like, why are you looking? We're trying to find ways, especially in our in our response teams, different ways of giving out information without making it known. Like I know like North Brunswick has like they got bracelets that are like USB things. So like you unclip it and it's a USB plug.
That's amazing.
And they have all the files on
I love
there.
that. Yeah.
Like so different ways of having
Maybe like QR code.
yeah, like a QR
For
code.
an Instagram or something, because kids love Instagram.
Yeah, like Woodbridge was talking about having like lipsticks, like empty lipstick containers, and like handing them out, and so you think it's lipstick, but inside is like a small piece and it has the QR code, and it's all the documents.
Information you need. Yeah.
Yeah. So different ways to get the information out without the abuser knowing. Because again, once they know, then it's like
Then they have the power control, because then they're going to manipulate the narrative to be like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's not.
Or beat the shit out of them.
Exactly.
What do you think you're fucking doing?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like you want to just try to be mindful of protecting them as much as possible,
I love that you guys are, and everyone is approaching at different angles. Okay,
Yeah.
so we have to create the lipstick or the bracelet, and that's amazing because we have to adapt and get better at, giving the message out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel like I want these victims to know that there is hope out there. There's help.
Yeah.
And I feel like because my sister didn't know that there is, and there was ways that how to protect herself, doesn't mean that they'll never be. Doesn't mean that the next victim won't have that same access. And as long as I'm still breathing and walking this face of the earth, and my voice is still as loud as it can, that is my mission. Is to make sure that they know that there is help out there. And if I can at least just with my story or with as much as I can help, I will. One day, when the doors open to Dina's Hope Shelter, I will have more than 23 beds, I swear, and I will have access for their pets, because a lot of times, too, victims with pets they won't leave their pets because shelters won't bring pets.
And for a lot of people, that's their emotional support, right? Like their dog, their cat brings such comfort to them. Yeah.
And it's hard. It's like people don't realize the magnitude that these victims have to really think about before they actually
Right, every little detail.
to get to leave, and it's and again, I never really thought about it either, because we don't talk about it.
Yeah. Like it's not in your face. You're not thinking about it.
Because I was talking to my mom the other day about it too, and we're like, she's like, back in like the 50s, like it was brushed under the rug.
Yeah.
Nobody ever talked about it,
It was
like
kept a secret.
you were a happy wife. You did what your husband told you to do, and that was it. Nobody talked about it. And she's like, and that's what I guess the way she grew up is the way we grew up. Like
it's been.
But again, my dad really never like hit my mom. He didn't hit my mom. He didn't scream. Like they were loud Italians. Everybody yelled. That's how we spoke.
Yeah.
So like I don't know an inside voice. But like my sister, I guess, and I guess we just never knew like that we were dating men that abused us because we were fixers, we were healers. We thought we were fixing people.
Yeah.
And I told I went to therapy the other day. I'm like, I'm a fixer. I find people that I want to fix.
And that's awesome that you go to therapy.
Yeah, I have to.
That's
oh
awesome.
my God. I need it.
Yeah, we all
and
do.
I think therapy is great for everybody.
We all do.
Yeah, and
there's
I
so
feel
much
like
traumas and things.
there
we
is,
hear.
and sometimes I feel like if you have something traumatic that happened in your life, and I tell my kids that too. Like, therapy it's not like it used to be back in the day where you shouldn't talk to anybody. Like it's shunned or whatever.
Yeah.
I tell my kids all the time, talking to somebody who's not family, who's an outsider, who has no idea what we've went through, to give other advice or other ways of coping is so powerful, that could help you heal whatever you're going through, and they're like, oh, I don't know, whatever. I'm like, I need it.
Yeah.
I feel better when I come out of therapy and be like, listen.
And I wish that therapy was more available, because I wonder for these victims, if they maybe talked about it with a therapist, and then they would come to own realization, this is not a good pattern. I should probably remove myself.
Right. So I went to, I sent out donations to a walk. Well, it wasn't a walk. It was a bike club up in Patterson 2 years ago. And I was talking to one of the people that were running it, and I was telling them, I don't have a degree in this. I'm just a victim's sister, whatever. And the lady was like, well, it's never too late to go back to school. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually in my third year of college to get my bachelor's in psychology.
That's amazing.
So
Congratulations.
I'm like, not that I don't know about, might not ever go for a therapist degree, whatever, but at least having that knowledge
That is amazing.
that I
Good
can,
for
you know,
you.
like with like the personality disorders, which
Yeah.
is great because I just did a course on narcissistic personality and all that. So I'm like, oh, this is great. Like,
Wow.
I could
That's
see
amazing.
it. So
Knowledge is power. So that's
and
awesome.
I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, you know, just having that extra on my back, you know, to help more victims, you know, just having some type of something.
Good for you.
And that was the reason. I wasn't trying to get a higher paying job, you know, like I work for Rutgers. That's nothing, you know, like, but it's just to have more access, you know, for these victims,
Right.
you know, to give them more, you know, information and more hope, you know.
Well, these victims are lucky for people like you.
Yeah.
we're
You
trying-
know, and I know that you're not alone.
No.
There's more. There's
There's
you
more of us out there,
and-
you
If
know.
anybody
and thank
wants
God.
to help, how can they find Dina's Hope?
We're on Facebook and we're on Instagram.
Okay.
Dina's Hope is on both.
Okay.
You can also find them through me as well, Joanne Musarra-Pipitone, on both Instagram and
Do you accept like donations or
we
volunteers?
do. We accept donations. I'm still working on, again, because we're very small, working on trying to do a separate Venmo account for Dina's Hope and the PayPal for them, but I have to create a bank account for that, so that's in the process. But I am always taking it through mine and then putting it towards that, so
That's
it's always welcome. I do collect other like like the toiletries and all that other stuff whenever I see that people need it to go out. We're not doing too much this October because everything else is going on with life. Like I said, we are doing the one in Woodbridge, October 17th. We are hoping one year to do a golf outing.
Oh, that's
hoping by
If you
maybe
need help
this
with that,
summer.
let me know because as an event planner, I've planned many golf outings.
Yes,
before.
I'm hoping by this
Yeah.
summer, towards the end of this summer, we can get that going.
That's awesome.
I want to try to get that going
Yeah.
and do something. My nephew did create a sign outside of Sayreville High School for his mom and for domestic violence because he was a scout, Eagle Scout before. He had his final project, and that was one of the things he did.
How
So
beautiful. Yeah.
well, he did that. So we have that sign going out. But yeah, we're trying to just get the word out, you know.
Yeah, that's
Anybody
great.
wants to, you know, volunteer their time
Yes.
at any local police station that has domestic violence, that reach out to them. If you're in Sayreville, reach out to me. I can get you information. I can also get you information to like Woodbridge and.
So are you on call? I guess they'll call you if they.
I'm
need
usually on call on Tuesdays.
you. Okay, so they set time. Like okay,
Yeah, we
Tuesday
have
I'll be
different.
available.
Yeah, different team members are on different days.
That's amazing.
And if anybody's not available, they'll send like a text message out, and if whoever's available will
Answer,
go out.
yeah.
Go out. We try to be there as much as we can, you know, for victims. But a lot of times people they don't. I don't know if it's their fear, but they don't need to be. They don't. I want people to understand. Don't be scared. Like we are there for you to listen, even if you just want to come in and vent. I'm happy to sit in my chair and listen.
Like you said, not judge. Like
I
tell
will
me,
not
yeah.
judge. I've been in your position. I totally understand. You can vent all you want and walk out and feel relief.
I feel like that's so powerful. People want to be heard.
That's all. And you know what? And sometimes it's like you can't vent to your family members because they're going to be like, well, I told you, you should have left. And,
Right.
you know, whatever. But it's like.
And I never liked him anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I told you should have left. But it's like talking to somebody, and it's like almost like free therapy when you think about it.
Yeah.
You know? And if you need a resource or you need somebody like, here, I got this for you. Here's a pamphlet. Here's that, you know? So they have to understand, like, it's okay to reach out to a response member. We're here. That's what we do, you know? It's part of why we do what we do.
That's awesome.
You know?
And you have their best interest. At the end of the day, it's
Absolutely.
like we have your best interest.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you
today.
guys so much for
No,
having
like,
me.
this really,
Thank you
means
for
so
being
much.
strong and brave
Thank you,
and
guys.
all the work you do. It's
Oh,
amazing.
thank you. Thank you guys for sharing and spreading the joy. Well, not joy, but like the love.
Yeah.
You know, and the word of domestic
Yes.
violence.
Yeah.
So, thank
Yeah.
you.
All right. Well,
you
we'll
so
tag
much.
everything, guys. So, you know, if you need any of these resources, we will tag everything.
Yes.
Dina's Hope and Joanne, and obviously we're all around too to answer any questions that or kick you over to people who are more qualified to answer questions.
We're here
for
to
sure.
help as best as we can.
Definitely.
Thank you. See you next week.